In November 1932, the Australian military declared war on birds. Not enemy aircraft, not carrier pigeons, actual birds. 20,000 emus, to be exact. The military brought machine guns. The emus brought themselves. Guess who won? Spoiler alert, it wasn't the humans. This is the true story of the most embarrassing military defeat in history. Picture this: Western Australia, 1932. The Great Depression has the world in a chokehold. World War I veterans are trying to farm on land that barely grows weeds. Wheat prices have crashed. Everyone's broke. Then, like a biblical plague, 20,000 6-foot-tall birds march out of the Australian interior. They're heading straight for the wheat fields. These aren't your average birds. Emus are the second largest birds on Earth. They stand 6 feet tall, run at 30 miles per hour, and can jump 7 feet straight up. Their feathers are so thick, they're basically bulletproof vests. They have razor-sharp claws that can disembowel a dingo. And they travel in mobs of thousands, like an unstoppable avian army. The farmers are desperate. These veterans survived the trenches of Gallipoli. They survived mustard gas and machine guns. But they're losing to birds. The emus are eating their wheat, destroying their fences, and trampling everything in sight. One farmer described it as watching a locust plague, except the locusts were 6 feet tall and could kick you to death. The farmers sent a delegation to the government. These are war heroes, remember. They know what machine guns can do. They saw them mow down thousands of men in minutes during World War I. Their request is simple: send us machine guns. We'll handle the birds. The government agrees, but with conditions. Military personnel will operate the guns. The army will run this operation. It will be organized, professional, efficient. Enter Major Gwyneth Purves Win Aubrey Meredith. Yes, that's his real name. He's put in command of the Emu War. His forces consist of Sergeant McMurray, Gunner O'Halloran, 2 Lewis machine guns, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Fox Movietone sends a cinematographer. The government wants to film their glorious victory over the bird menace. November 2nd, 1932, day 1 of the Great Emu War. The soldiers spot 50 emus near Campion. The birds are out of range. No problem, thinks Major Meredith. We'll use tactics. The local farmers try to herd the emus toward the guns. It's a perfect ambush. Except the emus don't cooperate. They split into small groups and scatter in every direction. The machine guns roar. Feathers fly. When the smoke clears, maybe 12 birds are dead. Maybe. November 4th. The soldiers set up the perfect ambush at a local dam. 1,000 emus are marching straight toward them. Major Meredith orders his men to hold fire. Wait until they're close. Point-blank range. Maximum casualties. The emus get closer. Closer. The order is given. Open fire. The Lewis gun jams after 12 rounds. The emus scatter like they've been trained in evasive maneuvers. A few dozen fall. 950 escape. Major Meredith is stunned. These birds are displaying tactical brilliance. They post sentries. When the soldiers approach, one emu gives a warning cry and the entire mob scatters. They zigzag when running, making them nearly impossible to hit. When shot, they keep running unless hit directly in the head or neck. One emu reportedly took 5 bullets and ran another mile before collapsing. The media gets wind of the operation. Newspapers start calling it the Emu War. Not as a joke, as an actual military designation. Headlines scream about the Army's failure. Cartoonists have a field day. One draws emus wearing military helmets, carrying tiny rifles. The international press picks up the story. Australia becomes a global laughingstock. November 8th. After 6 days of combat, the military has used 2,500 rounds of ammunition. Official emu casualties, between 50 and 200. depending on who's counting. The emus are still destroying crops. If anything, they seem more organized. Members of Parliament are asking uncomfortable questions. How is the Australian military losing to birds? Major Meredith, trying to save face, makes a statement that becomes legendary. He says, quote, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." End quote. He just compared emus to tanks and admitted the tanks were winning. The government withdraws the military on November 8th. The war has lasted 6 days. The farmers immediately request military assistance again. The government, embarrassed, sends Meredith back on November 12th. He claims more success this time, reporting 100 emus killed per week. But it's not enough. The emu population barely notices. They continue their assault on the wheat fields. December 10th, 1932. The military withdraws for good. Major Meredith submits his final report. He claims 986 confirmed emu kills, with exactly 9,860 rounds fired. Conveniently, that's exactly 10% accuracy. Military historians find this suspiciously round number hard to believe. Local farmers report seeing nowhere near that many dead birds. The aftermath is humiliating. The emus continue destroying crops for years. Farmers request military assistance in 1934, 1943, and 1948. Each time they're refused. The government pretends the Emu War never happened. Instead, they go back to the old bounty system. Between 1945 and 1960, nearly 300,000 emus are killed by farmers with regular rifles. Australian ornithologist Dominic Cervanty writes the war's most famous summary, quote, "The machine gunners' dreams of point-blank fire into serried masses of emus were soon dissipated. The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into innumerable small units that made use of the military equipment uneconomic." End quote. Even scientists are treating this like an actual military defeat. Here's what makes this story even more insane. The emus weren't trying to win a war. They were just being emus. They wanted water and food. Their migration routes, used for thousands of years, happened to cross farmland. They had no idea they were defeating a military force. They were just really good at not dying. The soldiers weren't incompetent. These were trained military men using military tactics and military weapons. The Lewis gun they used could fire 500 rounds per minute. It was the same weapon that dominated World War I battlefields. But the emus' natural behavior made them nearly impossible to fight with conventional tactics. Think about the absurdity. 3 men with machine guns versus 20,000 birds. The Australian military had fought at Gallipoli, one of the bloodiest battles in history. They'd faced the Ottoman Empire, the German Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They'd won. Then they faced emus. And lost. Major Meredith later compared the emus to Zulu warriors. He wasn't joking. He genuinely believed the birds were using sophisticated military strategies. In reality, the emus were just doing what evolution programmed them to do. Survive. But their survival instincts were so effective, they defeated modern military technology. The farmers learned something important. One man with a rifle is more effective than machine guns against emus. Why? Because you can aim a rifle at a specific bird. Machine guns are designed to spray bullets at large groups. When those groups instantly scatter, machine guns become expensive noisemakers. The emus had accidentally discovered the perfect counter-strategy. To this day, the Emu War remains the only time a modern military lost a war to birds. No other nation has been brave enough, or stupid enough, to try again. The emus didn't just win the war, they won so decisively that they changed military thinking about wildlife management forever. The Australian government learned its lesson, sort of. Today they use fences. The state barrier fence runs 1,200 kilometers, originally built to keep rabbits out. Now it keeps emus from migrating to their traditional feeding grounds. Many emus die of starvation at the fence. It's less embarrassing than losing another war, but ethically questionable. Conservation groups now protest the fence. They point out that emus are native to Australia. They were there first. The fence disrupts migration patterns that existed for thousands of years before humans arrived. In a way, the emus are still fighting. This time, they're losing, but at least they're not facing machine guns. There's a strange irony here. The emu is on Australia's coat of arms, alongside the kangaroo. Both animals were chosen because they can't walk backwards. They symbolize progress, always moving forward. The nation that tried to machine gun them now puts them on its money, its military insignia, its official seal. Modern Australians have embraced the absurdity. The Emu War is now a source of national humor rather than shame. There's talk of making a movie. Tourist shops sell Emu War memorabilia. Military historians include it in serious academic papers. It's become legend, the ultimate David versus Goliath story, except David is a bird and doesn't know there's a fight. But here's the real lesson. Technology doesn't always beat nature. Military might doesn't guarantee victory. Sometimes, the simplest survival instincts defeat the most advanced weapons. The emus didn't win because they were stronger or smarter. They won because they were perfectly adapted to their environment, and machine guns weren't adapted to fighting them. Today, emu populations are stable. Farmers and birds have reached an uneasy truce, maintained by fences and distance. The Great Emu War is remembered as history's most ridiculous military operation. But maybe, just maybe, it taught humanity some humility. If we can lose to emus, perhaps we should respect nature a bit more.